Mom, my head hurts. I must have said that sentence 1,000 times over the last few years. And at first, it was met with concern, checking my temperature, giving me medicine, letting me rest. You know, that perfect parenting you see on TV. But after a while, it became routine. Well, it was expected, because how many times can you say the same exact thing before people stop listening? And here's a big question. If something is invisible, does it become less real? If pain doesn't leave a mark, does it still deserve attention? And if migraines not only attack the body, but also the mind, then why don't we talk more about their impact on mental health? Well, let's start with what is obvious. Migraines are not just headaches. If I walked in here with a broken arm, you notice immediately. You see the cast, you see the sling, and you will be surprised because I am so dedicated for giving a TED Talk with a broken arm. Or you probably even offer to carry my bag if I had one. But now, imagine me walking in here with a migraine. What would you see? Exactly nothing. Because there's no cast, because there's no sling, because there's no visible sign that my brain feels like it's being crushed slowly. Just me, standing here, looking perfectly fine. Well, light feels like daggers. And every sound feels like my brain is having a full-on concert where I honestly don't want to be. Now, imagine trying to function like that, trying to read, trying to think, trying to speak, while the world around you continues, completely unaware of the war going on inside your head. Now that's what living with migraines is like. But the worst part, but here where it gets darker. Migraines don't just bring pain. They bring along fear, like a shadow that never leaves. Because the thing about migraines is that they never send a warning. You wake up one morning feeling perfectly fine, like you're on top of the world, ready to do everything, but ready to be everything you want to be. And then, suddenly, bam, your brain decides today is not the day. And neither is tomorrow, nor is next week, or next month. And just like that, you shift from wanting to be everything to becoming actually nothing. Nothing but a person with a curled up brain fighting their own inner thoughts. So you may ask, what happens? You start living in constant anxiety. You ask yourself, when will the next one hit? Will I be able to function? And most importantly, will anyone even believe me? This last question is the hardest, because the truth is, we live in a world where invisible pain is often dismissed. If people can't see it, they don't believe it's real. And this doesn't just happen with the migraine field, but with everything else in life. We, as a society, don't believe others. We don't acknowledge their struggle, or we simply choose not to help them. Why? Because it's easier. Easier to dismiss, easier not to fight, easier to just look away. Disbelief consumes us. And most importantly, it consumes those who suffer. And that disbelief, it's devastating. It makes you feel weak, guilty, like you're a burden. You start second-guessing yourself. Well, maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it's not that bad. Or maybe I just need to push through. But let me tell you something. That mentality is very dangerous. So, to let you indeed see that this is actually dangerous, let me tell you a personal story. Last year, I was on a school trip to the company HP, trying to look engaged while my brain was malfunctioning like a glitchy printer. The migraine hit hard. Flashing lights, stomach doing Olympic-level gymnastics. People around me probably thought I was either a really boring girl or a non-talkative person who really didn't care. Well, I told myself, just push through. Don't make a scene. Well, spoiler alert, I made a scene. The next thing I know is I'm on the floor. Teachers are panicking, people are fanning me like I'm some old Victorian lady, and all I could think about was, great, now I'm officially the kid who fainted at HP. What a way to go. But the best part is for the next 3 days, the guy who helped me during my stay kept checking in every morning, asking if I had eaten breakfast, and insisting on buying me some, just in case I fainted again. Nothing like a near medical emergency to lend yourself a personal mirror supervisor. But honestly, all this embarrassment was nothing compared to the realization. Migraines aren't just headaches. They can shut your whole body down. And people need to understand that. If it took me collapsing in a tech company for people to take migraines seriously, well, at least I can say I went out making a point. And this is exactly my point. Migraines aren't just physical. They make depression and anxiety 5 times more likely. People with chronic migraines have a 60% chance of suffering anxiety, 50% chance of suffering depression, and 25% of suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD. Why? Because these numbers, these aren't just numbers. They're lives held hostage by never-ending pain, waiting for relief that eventually doesn't come. Because when pain is constant, hope starts to feel optional. You start canceling plans, avoiding people, shutting down. The world moves on without you, where you're stuck in a loop of pain, isolation, and self-doubt. You see your friends happy, going out, and having the time of their lives, while you're just curled up in your bed, not knowing what to do, what to feel, or who to be. Whether a strong fighter or a weak complainer, the choice is yours. Because the worst part is when you finally gather the courage to say, hey, I'm struggling. Way too often, you hear, it's just a headache. You're just stressed. Or, it's not that serious. So you stop talking. You stop asking for help. You start pretending you're fine even when you're not. Our story repeats itself over and over and over again. Now, what can we do? But here is how we can change the narrative. Here is how we can change our story, and most importantly, others too. Because too many people suffer in silence, afraid they won't be taken seriously. And that silence is actually killing them. So what can we do? First of all, we should believe people when they say they're in pain. I promise you, nobody's faking a migraine just for fun. And when we believe people, we should also stop giving terrible advice. If someone says they have a migraine, please do not say, have you tried yoga? Because trust me, if yoga could fix this, I'd be a human pretzel by now. And when we believe people, we don't just help one person. We also raise awareness. The more we talk about the connection between migraines and mental health, the more we normalize it. The more research we demand, the better treatments we get, the more we get. And awareness is very important, but it doesn't stop there. It must lead to action. Advocate, not just for yourself, but also for others. If you suffer from migraines, don't let anybody tell you it's not that bad. Your pain is real, your struggles are real, and you deserve support. And lastly, and all beyond the migraine field, it is very important to check in on the people in your life. Some of those who seem the strongest are actually fighting battles you can't see. A simple, are you okay, can make a bigger difference than you may realize. Because after all, this isn't just about migraines. It's about us. It's about how we treat invisible illnesses. It's about how we treat somebody when they say they're in pain. It's about breaking the cycle of silence that keeps people suffering alone. And maybe, and I say just maybe, it's time we start listening before the silence becomes unbearable. So let's make a promise today to see the invisible, to hear the unheard, to believe, support, and stand up for those who feel like their pain doesn't matter. Because it does. It always has, and it always will. Thank you.